Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. A Michigan branch of Catholic Charities has filed a lawsuit against the state after the state stripped its Cristo Rey Counseling Center of its designation as a women's specialty services organization because of the organization's religious stance on abortion and birth control. Jeremiah Galus of the Alliance Defending Freedom has more to say about this. Jeremiah, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well, Marcus. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to speak with you. So what's going on here in terms of Michigan officials targeting this ministry?
Yeah, so unfortunately we have another instance of religious hostility and discrimination coming out of the state of Michigan. Despite having a long history of successful participation in a state program that uses federal dollars to help women and families, Cristo Rey Counseling Services, which is a part of Catholic Charities of Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton counties there, abruptly lost this critical funding due to actions of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And they lost the funding not because of any deficiency or failure on their part, but they had the funding removed specifically because they follow Catholic teaching on the sanctity of human life and dignity of the human person, and the moral impermissibility of abortion and contraception. Again, no cited service failures or complaints. That was the sole justification for the rescission.
As we take a look at the decision, it becomes abundantly clear that what's being targeted is the specific religious lean of Catholic Charities. Can you please speak to that and the very clear constitutional infringement?
Yeah, that's right. So no organization in our country, because of the First Amendment, no organization should have to choose between its faith and serving the public good. And Michigan's position here is really stark, and it's unconstitutional. It's serve the public our way or don't serve at all. And that's a choice under the First Amendment that no ministry, no church, no synagogue, no mosque, no religious organization should ever have to make. And the Supreme Court has made it abundantly clear that that type of religious exclusion is unconstitutional. Many times, 3 cases in the past decade, the Supreme Court has said that when you have a government benefit program that is open to private entities, generally available to others, you cannot exclude a religious organization from that benefit program on account of its religious character or its religious exercise. And unfortunately, that's exactly what the state of Michigan has done here.
Talk with us about what are some of the things that what legal procedures have been taken against Catholic Charities?
Yeah, so again, this was a decision that came kind of out of nowhere from Catholic Charities' perspective. There was no cited service complaints or deficiencies. The state of Michigan, along with some other government officials, had inquired into Catholic Charities' religious beliefs and practices as it pertains specifically to abortion and contraception. And there was some dialogue leading up to this decision. But again, it was a very stark and drastic decision that the state made, which was to pull this longstanding designation and relationship that had been successful in serving the women and children of the Lansing area. And again, this is another example, I would say, of religious targeting and hostility on the part of Michigan government officials. This is a pattern, not a mistake. There was a previous federal court case back in 2019 and 2020 that involved this particular Catholic Charities predecessor, where the same department and the same government officials were found liable for targeting that Catholic Charities' religious beliefs, where you had a federal court decision saying that they were targeting and singling out the religious beliefs of St. Vincent Catholic Charities, which was the predecessor of this Catholic Charities entity. So again, a pattern, not an isolated mistake.
Again, like you've rightly mentioned, pattern and not isolated mistake. In fact, if anything, it seems to be very clear that there's targeting. So is that one of the grounds for the defense that's being mounted?
It is. It absolutely is. So the First Amendment, at a bare minimum, prohibits government and government officials from targeting somebody because of their religious beliefs. You cannot single out a religious organization or a person because they don't adhere to the government's orthodoxy on matters of, human sexuality or the sanctity of life. The First Amendment, if it means anything, it means that the government can't target you for your religious beliefs, yet that's what has happened here.
Just considering what you've just shared and the very clear constitutional appeal that Catholic Charities has, the case seems like it won't hold up in courts, let alone in public scrutiny. So why bother?
Why bother on the state of Michigan's part?
Yeah, on the state of Michigan's part. Why the targeting?
Yeah, I'm usually very reluctant to try and analyze exactly why government officials do what they do.
That's fair.
I think the only explanation we can have right now, given the pattern that we've seen, is they don't view Catholic beliefs on these issues very favorably. Mm-hmm. And what the government officials said in having this conversation is they really demeaned Catholic Charities' religious beliefs as saying you can't hold these religious beliefs and provide objective support, counseling support, which is just completely wrong. Again, they could cite no service deficiencies, no substantive complaints, no one who had been harmed by Catholic Charities services. It had been a successful partnership for over a decade. So it's just really kind of this narrow, one might say bigoted view towards religious beliefs that some officials unfortunately seem to hold to.
Ancillary to the religious argument, too, it's very clear that Catholic Charities does, in fact, provide very specific specialty treatment services to women, including therapy. So clearly, from a practical legal perspective, the action being taken won't hold any water.
Well, I would hope so. We're very hopeful that the court won't just recognize the fundamental constitutional rights that are at stake and the danger that this precedent could set. Because, if the government officials can target Catholic Charities in this way, then really no religious organization will be safe. So we do think that the court will see that. But there's also just a very practical component to this. Is Catholic Charities does the good work that it does precisely because of its religious beliefs. And there are very real people who are being served in a beneficial, helpful way by Catholic Charities. So when the state makes a decision like this, which is to exclude a religious organization precisely for following the religious beliefs that cause it to do this good work in the first place, it's not just a constitutional violation, but it harms real people. There are real victims, and we're hopeful that the court will see that as well.
How can our listeners either get involved or support the work that's being done by your organization to help, particularly to help Catholic Charities, but also generally to help the Alliance Defending Legal Freedom?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say, given your audience, the first thing they can do is to pray for Catholic Charities and the good work that they're doing, to pray for the organization I'm a part of, Alliance Defending Freedom. But I would encourage them to also visit both ministries' websites. You can learn more about our organization at adflegal.org and keep track of this case and the other cases we're working on. And support those ministries if that's something that they feel inclined to do and are capable of doing. But first and foremost, I would just say to lift up both ministries and the work that they're doing in prayer.
Well, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you so much. Glad to do it.
I've been talking with Jeremiah Galus of the Alliance Defending Freedom, and we've been talking about how a Michigan branch of Catholic Charities has filed a lawsuit against the state because the state stripped its Cristo Rey Counseling Center of its designation as a women's specialty services organization, with a precise desire to attack the religious lean of Catholic Charities' work. So keep praying, and like Jeremiah just recommended, let's find out how we can get involved. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.